live on yours. Yep. No. Right. There's a problem with yours. Right. Welcome to the next episode of the Sussex Statman Show. This evening, he's back. He was back just about last week from his long sojourn. Happy New Year to you, Chris.
Happy New Year. How are we doing? Okay?
Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Not Mike this evening. He's on a couple of prior engagements, so I offered to sit in on a Friday evening. I wouldn't have been anywhere else because obviously, you know, we've done the New Year bits and everything, but hey, there we go. As always, Chris has put his usual detailed pack together, which I've had a little scan through on the way through, but this is your show, Mr. Statman. Where do you want to go first?
Well, it'd probably help if I share my screen, wouldn't it? Let's go share screen. You'd think I do this for a living. Where are we? Right. Can you see that?
Let me have a look. Can I see it? Not currently. Hang on. Is there anything I need to do?
It might be in the room.
Right, hang on. Go on. Let me see what does that do? Let's add an item, not that. New layout, manage layouts. Camera. No, audio, no. No, because that's just.
Is it on the stage? Is that what it's called on here?
Yeah. Was it? I don't know if it was your settings. No, that's not that bit. That solo layout. Oh, we've got down here. This is what happens when you leave me in charge, and I don't know what's going on. It's only that bit. It's nice and simple when you do the normal SNLF. Right, what does that do? Right, that's just me. What does that do? Add slides and PDF. That could be the one, couldn't it?
Yeah. Or is it screen?
Yeah, it's not slides and PDF. So extra camera, video file, image file.
Slides. Oh, fuck off.
But
we currently support PowerPoint, apparently. Sounds to be a fine thing. Share screen. Let's just try this.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you got it?
I've got it. Hang on. Yep. Right. Share screen. Right. Oh, hang on. What are we going here? No, if you share yours.
That's what I'm trying.
If not, let me put the stat pack in. Has that worked? There we go. Can you see that?
Sort of. Although it's kind of between screens and stuff.
That because it's mine halfway through. That's why.
Well, and also I've made some changes to it this evening, so it's not necessarily even the right.
Now he tells me.
Sorry.
Right, let's go back to the
entire screen.
You didn't quite have the right date, but there we go. How's that?
That was one of the things I changed.
Was it? There we go. Right, should we start in the south?
Yes, let's go for it. So,
hang on. I think. Let me unshare mine because yours is there.
Wow.
Hey, there we go.
Boom ting, as I'm sure the kids say. So, let's start with the south. Right. So last I did this was sort of mid-November time, I think. So it's a case of what's happened since then, which admittedly is going over a bit of old ground. So I'll try and give you a quick précis of it. It's been pretty good for Worthing, definitely. They've won all bar one of their games. And to be fair, even that game came at playing more. And, you know, if you remember, me and you were both saying Torquay were our favourites for the season. So there's no shame in losing down there, particularly on a Tuesday night. But then the way they responded was exemplary by battering then leaders Hornchurch 5-0. While I was gone, if that's not the definition of a statement win, I don't know what is. So yeah, all good on the Worthing camp. Horsham's fine start to life at step 2 has carried on. I know they've had a bit of a wobble of late, but prior to that, they'd extended their unbeaten streak to 13 games, which is good at any level, particularly when you're new to it. So Dom DePaulo's boys are doing very well. They've since hit a bit of a bump, like I said, but I mean, Cheshire aren't a bad side and Dorking are very good. So and particularly up at Meadowbank actually. So, these things will happen, but they're not exactly awful results. The interesting one's Eastbourne Borough. Well, for me it is anyway. Who are now actually showing signs of life after a very slow start to the season. They've got 3 wins in their last 6. They've beaten Hampton and Richmond, which isn't saying an awful lot at the moment. We'll come to that in a bit. But they were winless actually in 13 prior to that game, so they were in no sort of form. But they then won at Dover, who'd won 4 in a row prior to that. After and they were in really good form. So they're an odd one, Borough. Whenever they win, they seem to score loads. Anyway,
yeah, you're not wrong.
No, so now they're only 4 points off safety, which is an improvement. Just scooching onto the form guide, this one might make your eyes hurt if you're watching, so apologies. But as we can see, Worthing are top of it with 5 wins in a row now, and just banging goals in for fun. Eastbourne Borough 10th, Horsham 13th. But I think what would be more useful, particularly with regards to Eastbourne and Worthing, is looking at what the teams around them are doing as well. So what I've done is, if it works, I've just highlighted those teams in and around. So for Worthing, we knew the Dorking game was going to be massive, and Dorking have been on a bit of a surge. So, Worthing, Dorking, they also lost 2-1 to Chesham, so no need to worry about that one, particularly Horsham. But yeah, they're going good guns. Torquay have only won one of the last 4, and that one came at Western Supermare, which again doesn't harm Worthing in any way. They've only won 2 of the last 5 themselves. But even more baffling is Hornchurch. They've been, they were long-time leaders of the league, and now they're really falling. I think they won 11 of their first 16 games, did Hornchurch, and since then they've lost 4 of the last 8, and their only clean sheet came against Hemel, I think, who are not doing as well as they were when they started the league at the season. So, yeah. As for Borough, no, this one. Here we go. So they're 10th, pretty good run considering where they're at. It's also worth considering they've scored 18 in 6. No one other than Worthing has done more than that, which, considering they're in the bottom 3, is pretty good going. Now, it is worth saying half of those 18 came from Pedi Aderoju.
Mm-hmm.
Apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. And he's now been recalled by Peterborough. So that might be a concern for the sports. On an aside, actually, it might be worth just keeping an eye on what he does in the future, because he's been in great form. And Peterborough's record with strikers is immense. So
yeah.
They've had some real good ones come through, so I'll be interested to see where he goes. But anyway, in terms of that and the relegation fight for Borough, 9 points from 6. I'm surprised they're as high as 10th with only 9 points from 6, but it's a marked improvement on where they've been at. The win at Tunbridge was massive, considering they're not a million miles out of the picture for the relegation picture either. But yeah, they're certainly doing far better than a lot of the teams in and around that zone. So be interesting to see how that carries on. Now, if you remember, Worthing and Borough both changed their managers at broadly the same time. I think didn't we talk about them both on the one show actually? I think it was.
Yeah, it was only about within a week or 2 of each other, I think, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So what I've done is I've kind of drawn a line in the sand before it and then compared before and after performance just to see what's actually happened. Because we can see, look, top of the tree since then, Worthing dropped 3 points from 13 games, so they're obviously top of the tree. So we're saying Horsham are in 3rd. They didn't exactly start bad either. Did Horsham? They got off to a bit of a slow start, but only I think 6 games or so, and then they started getting going. So for them to be 3rd after that time is really good as well. Dagenham 4th. They got off to a really slow start, but they seem to have found their straps now. Borough are 16th. Doesn't sound too impressive, but they are 4th. In terms of the biggest swings we've seen in terms of points per game, Borough are the 4th most improved side in the league since Tommy Witherington came in, which is, props to him and his team for that. Worthing, obviously, number 1 on account of the fact they've only dropped 3 points since. So interesting to see in the bottom part of that table. I've been talking about Hampton a lot. Sorry, Hampton fans. There won't be any watching. It'll be fine. They're not doing too well. With Totton, I've been noticing them a lot falling away, but also Hornchurch, who, as I said, were long-time leaders, and now really, well, I say really struggling, relatively struggling, relative compared to the first half of the season.
I must admit, Chris, it's interesting, like looking at something like that over like a 3-month sort of period, where I do a prediction at the beginning of the season, and I'm looking at, you know, the sides that started slowly, the sides that started well, and probably people wouldn't pick Horsham out to be third. People wouldn't pick out Dagenham to be fourth, given the way that they actually started. And someone like Slough, who you know, and Chippenham as well, quite mainstays of the National League South as well, but both are having a bit of struggle this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we'll come on to Slough in a little bit, but they, that's taken me by surprise. And there's a lot of teams who've really like changed a lot since last year, like Hemel. Hemel are sort of averaging out now. They've got off to a good start and they've kind of regressed. But last year they were goal central.
Yeah.
And now, well, I mean, look at that. In their last 13 games, they've scored 16, conceded 16. It's like every game's 1-1. It's very mad. Borough's a bit of an outlier as well. You look at how big their bars are here.
Yeah.
And again, actually, only Dorking and Worthing have scored more than Borough.
That's a bit of a sign, I think, of a Tommy Widdrington side, though. Similar at Aldershot, they scored a lot of goals, but they were prone to winning games by 4-3 rather than by 4-0.
Well, as Borough did just the other night.
Yes, precisely.
And in fact, we'll see that here. So this is the goal chart, which I'll just explain briefly for, I think anyone who's seen this before will know, but if not, it's goals conceded along the bottom. So you want to be in this left-hand zone if you can. Goals scored going up the top. Now, this is really, it surprises me how low scoring this league is. I think when I looked, the goals per game in this league was around 2.7, and it's over 3 in the National League North. So it's like 11% different in this league, which is fairly significant. And, you know, the average number of goals a team is scoring is 1.3, which is not high at all.
What do you put some of that down to, Chris? Would you say there's a lot more sides that train mornings, they get more contact time in the south than there is in the north? So maybe sides are fitter to last game. So you've got more part-time against part-time in the north. There's a chance that maybe one team just has an extra burst in that 10 minutes and scores 2 or 3 goals, and it doesn't quite happen in the south, maybe?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, there's only like, I think one player really, Brad Donnellan's now got a bit of a lead, hasn't he, in terms of the number of goals he scored. Whereas I think if you look at the national, I mean, it's because of the FOTMOB app. When you open the top scorers in that, it merges the 2 leagues together. And so Brad Donnellan would be about 6, I think. He's the only one in the top 8, I think, from the National League South, which is just insane. Okay. I think, yeah, you're definitely going to be better versed on the differences between the North and the South as an award-winning program editor. You were wrong if you thought I wasn't getting that in there. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I knew. To be completely blunt, I'd be lying if I said I knew. But yeah, that theory does hold. I think there's probably a bit more money in the game down here. To be honest, you've got a lot of ex-Football League clubs as well. In the likes of your Ebbsfleet, Dagenhams, Torquay. I mean, Torquay.
Ebbsfleet haven't been Football League.
Have they not?
No.
Oh, I must have had a weird dream. I was convinced.
You got Torquay. You've got who else you got in there? It's been there.
Dagenham.
Dagenham have. But you've got some big clubs that are full time in there, like Ebbsfleet. You know, Maidstone apparently are not quite full time. They do 3 mornings a week. But again, a big club that in their previous guys have been in the Football League as well. But also sides tend to yo-yo between the National League and the National League South as well. Yeah, and again, Chelmsford full time this year as well. You know, there is some big money, I think, knocking around in that division.
Well, for sure. And Hornchurch, when they started, I think there was a lot of talk about their recruitment pre-season, and they've obviously got to a great start. This and Joe Taylor, who's moved on several times since then. But I just wanted to call out Worthing quickly because their goal scoring rate under Adam Hinshelwood's been brilliant. I mean, I think it's doubled It's more than doubled since the levels they were getting under Chris Agata. But even with that, they're more than nearly 25% better than the next best team in terms of goal output, which is massive.
Yeah, that's a fair number.
Yeah, and under Hinch, they've been averaging 3 a game, more than 3 a game. So, like, the margin there between Worthing and the rest is really significant. So, just want to call that out. In terms of fixtures coming up, I mean, Worthing have got, other than Horsham, they've got a really nice little run of fixtures against teams in the bottom 8 before they have a double header against Weston-super-Mare at the end of the month and the start of the next month. So that's going to be interesting. Horsham have got both the other Sussex sides coming up, including a trip to Priory Lane next Tuesday, which, if I'm not mistaken, I might try and get to, actually, given I live in Eastbourne. It probably shouldn't. I should probably give it a go. But the one I wanted to call out was tomorrow, Eastbourne Borough trying to make it back-to-back wins against Slough. So here's my usual, I've basically just put this in landscape form because of the show I'm doing, but I usually do this in portrait for Twitter, and it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, both these teams are actually doing pretty well at the moment. Slough have won their last 2 against some decent opposition as well in Maidenhead and Chesham, so they're not going to be any pushovers, and they are pretty strong at Arbour Park as well, their home record.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a bit of a thing for Borough, but Borough seem liberated when they're not at Priory Lane.
Oh no, very good away record, haven't they? Very good.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, their away record's the 14th best in the league. You know, it's pretty good going. They average a goal and a half a game away from home, which, you know, they definitely don't do at home. I can't explain it, but that'll be something for them to look forward to. But yeah, it could be back-to-back wins for Borough, and that would take them to just within 1 point of Slough.
And also reels in Tunbridge, Bath and Salisbury as well, doesn't it?
Really does, yeah. Before that sort of watermark that seems to be there between Salisbury and Dover. But yeah, that's going to be one I'll be looking out for tomorrow with interest.
I forget tomorrow's Saturday. I've lost absolute track of days. And as I'm actually not going to a game tomorrow as well, I'm actually going to one on Sunday. And I went to one yesterday on Thursday. I'm just all over the place. I've got no clue.
Oh, likewise. Yeah.
Anyway.
If I hadn't spent the day pulling this, well, most of yesterday pulling this together, I'd be exactly in that same boat. Right, that's the South. Let's look at the Isthmian. Very close league, this, first and foremost, apart from the top end. So, looking at our teams, I mean, talk about mix and match. The sides in ours got off to one sort of start, and then it pivoted. Burgess Hill had a great November, unbeaten in the 5 games showing there. But December was a bit less impressive. Now, they have had a couple of difficult games, to be fair. Chatham away is not an easy one. Averley are in absolutely fine form, 13 unbeaten. But, yeah, it's a bit of a pivot for them. Chichester and Whitehawk got off to really, fairly slow Novembers, and then it's pivoted in the last 4, with both of them getting 3 wins and a draw in their last 4 games. Whitehawk unlucky not to make it 4 wins in a row when they were beating Lewis. If only they'd put 5p in the meter, they might be looking at unbeaten in 5. And Lewis, I mean, that's lucky for them really, because obviously they were 2-0 down. Their streaky season continues. They've kind of gone. They've had a lot of weird runs, but they've won the last 2, both away at Cray and Cray Valley. But their runs are weird. They went 5 unbeaten, then it was no win in 7, and the manager got sacked. Then they went unbeaten in 3, then it was 4 without a win. So yeah, it'll be like a bleeding pendulum. So maybe that Whitehawk game getting abandoned means they'll continue their fine run.
But yeah, I mean, we talk about it on the main show, don't we, as well? It's just so difficult, this division, because you put two wins together and you fly up 6 or 7 places. And if you lose 2 games, you can end up going down 9 places. It's probably one of the hardest divisions, along with the middle, probably of the southeast as well, to try and figure out who's going to finish where come the end of the season. Yeah,
I mean, Chichester are up to 9th now, which is their highest position, I think, since well, since the tragic incident at Wingate. That's, they obviously went a while without playing. In fact, I've got a slide entirely based on Chichester. For just, I skipped it. Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, they're up to 9th now, and that's their highest position basically since they stopped playing. Since that win at, since the win at Lewis, which I saw them at. Where admittedly I'm not going to let they absolutely burgled Lewis that night. But yeah, so it's good for them to be back up to that position. But you're right, a couple of wins, and it's just so close. 12 teams split by just 9 points. So it is very, very interesting. On that point, yeah, Chichester 4 unbeaten now, up to 5th in the form guide. But to be honest, I mean, it's the form guide's a bit of a story of Folkestone plus everybody else.
I mean, looking at that as well, Chris, there's not a lot of goals, is there? If you look at, say, like the National League South, where you've got Eastbourne's effort of, goals flying in here, there, and everywhere, it's almost like it's more controlled.
Yeah, I mean, other than Folkestone, there's not been that many absolute gubbings, and Folkestone have probably dealt out more than half of them, I think. Yeah, it is very strange. I mean, Chichester's goal output, in fact, we may as well, seeing as you've brought me so nicely onto it, bring up the goal chart for the Isthmian Prem. And I think the things that stand out to me are here. A, Folkestone, miles away from everybody, just absolutely miles. I mean, even Chatham have a similar defensive record, but in terms of goals scored, they're out in front. Isaac Hutchinson, I think. Is it Isaac Hutchinson? That one?
It's Jake Hutchinson, and they've got Joe Piggott, who was at AFC Wimbledon, and a couple of others in the Football League as well. That's two of their strikers. And I think they've got Adi Youssef, who's a Folkestone legend, to come off the bench as well. Quite the riches. Yeah,
well, I mean, Hutchinson, his dad's obviously an Eastbourne native, a big name in local football around here. His brother plays Football League. He's obviously a very good operator. But anyway, Folkestone, Chatham, miles clear. You look at, I mean, the rest of it's a bit of a morass here, but Chichester's the only one that worries me. They're obviously doing really well. They're 9th now. Their points per game, I think, is the 7th best in the league. So they're doing really well. But their goal output would concern me as a Chai fan. I think only the bottom 3 have scored fewer goals per game.
Okay.
So that's a bit weird. Also, I think, and I said this on the main show the other night because it made me chuckle, but Lewis have got the 16th best attack, 16th best defence, and they're 10th. Football is weird. So, on to that. In terms of fixtures, 2 of our sides actually meet tomorrow. Burgess Hill hosting Lewis I think that's a derby. I'm calling it a derby.
It's a Sussex derby, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and they're not that far from each other, so...
No.
So there's that. And then in terms of the others, Whitehawk go to Dulwich, which will be interesting. Actually, yeah, I'll be quite interested. Chichester have got quite a few games, as you'd expect, including Wingate at home, and then Brentwood at home. No, Averley at home. Averley. Their logos are pretty similar, to be fair. But yeah, the big one tomorrow at Leylands Park is Burgess Hill hosting Lewis. And you'd argue the Rooks are probably the ones with the momentum in their sails, particularly given that probable defeat was scrubbed. They're what I will say is they are much better at the pan. They've only won 3 away from home, albeit one of them was a very impressive win away at Dulwich Hamlet, 4-1 last time. A draw at hashtag a little less impressive, you might argue. Where Burgess Hill, they've certainly got goals in them. They don't struggle in that regard. They just might want to tighten up. I mean, they've had a few games where they've conceded 3 or more, in fact 4 of the last 6. So they might want to work on that. But to be honest, maybe not. I mean, I've been saying that whole season about them, and it hasn't really stopped them. So trust them. Trust they know what they're doing down there. To be fair.
We could easily see all 4 sides sitting together with each other come Saturday evening. If obviously Dulwich are beaten by Whitehawk, Billericay shift out the way as well. Could be the 4 of them with a 4-pronged assault on that last playoff place.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, when I've done a bit of banding of the teams together, and I think it's I think I've ended up going with the top 6 for now. But I'd say Cray Wanderers are the ones I would have a bit more reservation about than say Aveley, because Aveley have still got the games in hand, and they are just absolutely tearing it up at the moment. But yeah, hope so. But we want a bit of interest in that, and a couple nearly got there last year, so let's hope. Right, a division I know a little bit better than the other two, due to my affiliations, is the Isthmian South East. And where are we? Right, well, I mean, Three Bridges are the headline makers, top of the tree by 5 points now. Best attack in the league, best defence in the league, obviously the best goal difference as a result. And then it becomes a bit of a league of sort of clutches of teams, as you mentioned on the show on Wednesday night. You kind of got a top 5. Sittingbourne have now surged their way into that picture now, and they're 6th clear of Merstham. You've then got 4 teams set by just 3 points, including 3 level on points here. The next sort of 4 are separated by 3 points. The next 4 are they're actually level on points, including 3 of our sides. And then you've kind of got the bottom 5. The interesting development of late is Erith Town's points deduction, which means that they're no longer a win away from Sussex, which, considering the goal difference is 1 different, is a pretty big points deduction. Which means 5% of their points gone. So there is that. In terms of moves, well, if I just go onto the form guide, obviously the top 4 in the form guide are in the top 5 in the league. But next up are Ashford, who've really picked up since the manager change. Which you were saying they should have made ages ago, and it's proving right. It isn't just even the fact that they've been winning games, but particularly away from home, some really impressive performances in there. You know, winning 5-2 at Broadbridge Heath. Broadbridge Heath at home are very good, so that's not an easy thing to do. You know, they won away at Jersey, which not many teams will do, particularly on a Tuesday night. Like, that's very impressive. And to be fair, they pushed Three Bridges all the way.
Yes, yeah.
And I think Monty was saying on the show, like, Ashford were far happier with that result than Three Bridges were. But that's a big turnaround for the nuts and bolts. I mean, when they came to the Saffrons, I thought they were awful. Genuinely really poor. Didn't threaten at all. So yeah, marked change for them. But you've also got the likes of Sevenoaks really starting to pick up as well. Crowborough, mid-table now. After a real, they started very well and winning every other game, losing every other game. But if you average 1.5 points over the season, you'll be absolutely sound. And then they went for a bit of a dip, so it's good to see them picking up again. Really big win at Erith, given the competitive landscape of the league. Good draw with Broadbridge Heath and a great win at Merstham as well. So they're really motoring at the moment. It's sad to see 4 Sussex teams in the bottom 5. Yeah, really sad. But it is what it is. Broadbridge Heath, it's weird to see them back down there again, because they had a really horrible run that was fixture driven. Then they were motoring. And to be fair, they have had some tricky fixtures, like Crowborough away is not an easy one. Mersam's a tricky place to go. The Ashford loss I'm sure will be absolutely maddening for Chris. And then Faversham away is a tough place to go, as is Jersey. So, and Sevenoaks are also like, they've caught Ashford and Sevenoaks at just the wrong time, because they're absolutely motoring at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said earlier in the season, Broadbridge Heath had a really good start, then they dipped off again, then they went good again, and then it's just come off again a little bit. But I mean, what I liked about looking at the league table was that nearly everyone's played either 23 or 24 games. So there's not those midweek games now where you can actually make a difference. You've just got those Saturday afternoons, to get yourself back up the table and back on the winning run.
Exactly. And look, any analyst will tell you, when you're comparing teams or when you're comparing anything, you want to compare apples and apples. You want to compare things that are like with like. And when you've got league tables with so many fixture discrepancies, it makes it really difficult to sort of tell what's going on sometimes. But luckily, we don't have that problem this year. Now, what I've done here isn't that intuitive, but you're gonna have to deal with it. So what I've done is I've split the league into sort of teams. So what I said about them tranches of teams, I've kind of brought in here so I can have a look at how teams have done against similar-ish teams.
Okay.
So particularly useful at the tops and bottoms of leagues when we start looking about who's maybe got an edge when the fixtures are coming around. So with that in mind, if we focus on the top 5 at the minute, as I said, Three Bridges currently 5 points clear at the top. And they also seem to have a very good record against teams in the top 5. At the moment, there's only Faversham come close to them. They've won 3 of their 4 games of Three Bridges. And in fact, the one they didn't win was against Faversham. And I remember correctly, I think they were reduced to 10.
9 they finished with, didn't they?
They finished with 9, yeah. But I think they lost one of them really early. And I think that kind of swung.
I think so, yeah. Was it the goalkeeper potentially?
It was half. It was the first half. I remember that. So yeah, not a massive shock there. What's maybe a bit more surprising is Whiteleaf not having won any of them. Like they've lost all 3 of the games they've played against the top 5. So it's that's an interesting little nugget. That's not what I expected to see, but hey, that dems the numbers. In terms of the bottom 9, and it is a bit of a stretch calling it out to 9. I mean, just because at the moment there is that cut off now after Ashford's win against Jersey. Interesting, 2 teams have got 2 points per game in VCD, which I didn't expect. Although actually no, I did, because they beat us and Sussex actually pretty quickly in November, and Crowborough. So Crowborough have played 10 of them games and won 6 of them and only lost 2.
Good.
That's what you want to do if you're going to stay in the league. That's exactly the sort of thing you want to be doing. I mean, you got Sevenoaks with 5 wins. I think quite a few of them have been at home. Certainly the win against Eastbourne United. Eastbourne Town was at home. And Hastings, a nice one to end on, is 4 wins from 7. Now, the reason I say it's a nice one to end on is obviously they made a managerial change, not a long time after what are they called? Worthing and Borough. Whiteleaf and Eastbourne Borough. So around that mid-October time. And David Altendorf came in for Lee Carey. And since then, Hastings have, they're the most improved side, by distance. They're averaging a point more a game than they were getting, which, considering where they were in the table, is the difference between relegation and survival. So they're 9th now in the table, averaging 2 goals a game, which is very good. And in terms of, Sittingbourne as well, and talk about teams who made a slow start unexpectedly, Sittingbourne were probably that for me. After last year, I really expected them to just kick on and not have any problems, which was probably foolish given they lost the playoff final on penalties after getting over 100 points. Like, I can understand why that would be difficult to recover from. In the bottom half, Broadbridge Heath, again, it's just a case of where you draw the line in the sand, unfortunately, with them on this one. I wanted to make a point about Hastings, and unfortunately they've copped one, so sorry, Broadbridge Heath. Faversham's a big one. They got off to a right good start. They were 16 unbeaten, I think, and then Eastbourne Town went there, won 4-1, or I think it was 4-1, or something like that.
Yeah, and then I think Deal followed it up midweek with the same scoreline, I think, didn't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but they have normalised since then. To be fair to them, but yeah, that's a bit of when you have a high points per game ratio, it's easier for that to come down. But on the Hastings thing, they're the most improved side in the league, and I've put in here the sort of team dashboards I have at my disposal. You can just see like a clear change from before Dave and after Dave, really. And in fact, the details of it here, so the table positions I've got here before then and after then. And the big thing for me is their attacking output. They've gone from less than a goal a game to them being 2 goals a game. Now, the signing of James Stone, I think, is big in that. He scored 20 goals for Eastbourne Town last season, went to Sevenoaks and was doing pretty well there, to be fair. But then joined Hastings, and he's got an absolute belter in the win against Sheppey, sort of looping volley from the edge of the box. So, yeah, but the fact that they're now scoring goals, well, obviously you can't win games if you don't score goals. So,
correct.
Really, so that's a good thing for Hastings. In terms of fixtures, to be honest, a lot of the good ones are tomorrow. We've actually got quite a few derbies tomorrow. Three Bridges face Broadbridge Heath, and then we've got two that have real significance for the relegation battle, I think. In terms of other ones down the track, Erith Town visit both Eastbourne Town and East Grinstead Town in the month coming up, which with their points deduction, they'll obviously be wanting to take some points if they have any hopes of staying up. But for the games tomorrow, first one's at the Pilot Field. Hastings play Crowborough, both level on points. Both are in pretty good form, really. Both have only lost 2 of the last 6. And both are very similar at home and away. So pick 'em, basically. I think I'd fancy Hastings at home just about, given their form, particularly at the Pilot Field of late. And they are scoring good goals, a lot of goals as well. But Crowborough are no mugs, and no pun intended, sorry. And they're they'll make it difficult. I've got no doubt about that. And the other one is at the Saffrons, where I will find myself tomorrow, freezing my balls off, no doubt, as we welcome Sussex to Eastbourne.
It's a biggie.
Look, eh?
That's a biggie.
It is, yeah. Town will be looking to avenge the 3-1 defeat that we, to be fair, Sussex deserved on the bank holiday. We were both there at the Beacon, boiling. So yeah, the two extremes. But yeah, I mean, Town are good at home. We've won 5 of the games there. The fact that I think the one that really hurt was VCD lost, but other than that, I think we've been pretty good at the Saffrons in the main. Sussex, I said on the show the other night, are 11 without a win. They don't lose an awful lot of games, though. They do get points, draws here and there quite a lot. They got a draw at Herne Bay, draw at Deal. They were pretty close to a draw at Faversham, if memory serves. So, on the road, they're not awful on the road at all. It's not going to be an easy game to call. Certainly going to be a fun one to attend. It's a shame. I like Sussex a lot, but I am wanting them to get beat tomorrow. No doubt about that. But I'll see them for a beer afterwards. Right. Isthmian South Central, the most oblong region. If we look...
That's very good. I like that.
Right, here we go. This is a bit like the Isthmian Prem. 10 teams separated by just 5 points down at Hendon, which is somewhat ludicrous. Littlehampton's win yesterday took them up 5 places.
Isn't it?
Which is just wild. And you were at the game yesterday. I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
Littlehampton were very good. Bognor were very, I'll say they're very poor. It wasn't the world's best performance, but Littlehampton just sprung out the traps, used their pace wide on both sides of the pitch, and they were 3-0 up after 20 minutes. And Bognor got themselves back into the game 10 minutes later for a penalty, conceded one themselves spot on half time, so they went in 4-1 down. And the real key point, I think, was 3 minutes in the second half when Bognor got another penalty. And it was Billy Collins, the keeper, Littlehampton keeper, who gave it away, redeemed himself by saving it. And I think instead of, obviously, that would have given Bognor a lift at 4-2. I think it just sort of like summed up the afternoon for them. They had two or three good one-on-one chances as well that Collins did really good with to save as well. But to be no disrespect to Littlehampton, but they pretty much coasted through the second half because of what they did in the first 20 minutes, and it's brought them level into mid-table with same amount of points as Bognor. Yeah,
both of them only 6 points off the playoffs now, and Hayes and Yedding, who are currently occupying that last spot, their goal difference is no better than Bognor and Littlehampton's at -8. You've got them 4 teams up there, with goal differences in the 20s. And the next best is AFC Portchester on +6. So it is a bit of a story of that league, really, that them four teams. It is the goal chart for that league. And them four are just absolutely miles away. I mean, Leatherhead have been leading that league all season long. But yeah, it's not just the fact that they're up the top there, it's just that gap between them and the next sort of trench at Rains Park Vale and Portchester. I mean, Rains Park Vale are falling like a stone. They started really, really strongly, but they've really fallen off. I mean, you've got Littlehampton and Bognor, pretty similar position, which is an improvement for Littlehampton, to be fair. I think last time I did this show, I said that they'd failed to score in half of their games, which was, they were either scoring 3 or they were not scoring at all.
I remarked yesterday, Chris, to a couple of mates that were with me yesterday at the game, and said beforehand, and I said, Littlehampton's games normally contain 3. They score 3, or they concede 3, or it's a sum total of 3 in the game. So when they got 3 after 20 minutes, I was like thinking, well, that's it, chaps. You know, we're done for the afternoon. We've still got 80 minutes to play, but.
That was what I said to you after 20 minutes when I text you back saying, well, that's them. We know that's them done for the day.
Exactly.
But to be fair, though, like I said, last I said, they'd not scored in half of their games, whereas actually they've now scored in 6 of the last 8, which is a big improvement for them.
I think as well, Chris, they've got, I mean, we obviously know how good George Gaston is at scoring goals, but they've not got a prolific goal scorer. They chip in. Dave Herbert plays up top with George, and occasionally they're alternating as well. But beyond that, they haven't got, like Leatherhead did have at one point in Lucas Franson Jones, who's now at Lewis, to put the ball in the back of the net. So they've got to look to make the most really of set pieces, and any little tidbit that comes around in the box.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is as well, like, they're not just scoring ones, like they are still scoring when they click, they're obviously really good. Like they've scored 3, well, look at that. I mean, they've scored 3 6 times. That's pretty good going. But since, I did that pivot point, which was basically when I last did the show, they'd scored 20 goals in 16 games. Whereas now they've nearly doubled that. Oh, they've nearly got 20 in half as many. They're averaging 2 a game again now, which is, and it's really resulted in them going, coming back up the table, because I wouldn't say they were at threat of relegation, because I don't think they are or ever were, but they were heading that way rather than towards the playoffs. So good on them for getting that, sort of improving on that score. In terms of fixtures, it's certainly easier for one of these teams rather than the other. Bognor have got Horndean, and then a couple of, they've got a tough game away at Hayes and Yedding, but if they win that, then that really does put the cat among the pigeons vis-a-vis the playoff race. And then it's a trip to Ascot as well. But Littlehampton, I've got, Fareham away, which, Fareham are on 10 points. I'm pretty sure that they'll be wanting to record back-to-back wins there. It's these games against Westfield and Hamworth Villa that are going to be tough ones. Because, like I said, they're 2 of the 4 who were just a cut away from this league. Hey up, what are you doing? Right, County Prem and Guernsey. Thank you, Guernsey, for making me change my map. Where are we here? Well, since I last did this show, Haywards Heath have actually lost a football match, which...
What? Huh? Stop breath.
Is most rare. And in fact, they've then dropped points in another. So, doing a madness. Stanning continue to march on, though. 15 unbeaten now. Even though they couldn't get the win across the line against Haywards Heath, 15 unbeaten, they've still got good momentum with them. The playoff race is looking like it's going to be another doozy. 7 teams split by just 6. So from Peacehaven down to Roffey, in fact, not just Pagan but Roffey. You've then got Eastbourne United coming up on the rails as well, who are 6 unbeaten now. More on that in a minute. At the bottom end, as people who've heard me on the show before, I'm not one for digging teams out. I do try and be positive, and I'm going to do the same here. Varndinians are now out of the drop zone after an absolutely horrible run. I think they've got 8 defeats in a row, conceding 33. So they were averaging over 4 a game. But in fact, if we just move over to the, well, I'll talk about Van Dien's again in a minute. Actually, I've got some points to make. But it's worth saying Lansing as well have recovered nicely. The goal difference doesn't paint that picture, but they've really picked up of late after a really tough start. Lingfield have got games in hand. And I think obviously they're going back to Godstone Road. Is it this month now?
They're hoping to be. I did email Rich today when I sent him his invoice, but I know his company address he uses, they're not back till next week, so I don't know if he'd have actually seen it or not. But I know they were hopeful of January when I last, I think, spoke to him in October or November. So hopefully, yeah, that is on the cards. I know this, from what I've seen, tomorrow they're at AFC Whiteleaf, and I think there's one more home game they've got towards the end of the month when that's supposed to be at Whiteleaf as well. Then I know the next 4 are away after tomorrow, so not too much home pressure.
No, and it's good. They're actually going with grass as well, aren't they?
Yes, as far as I know, yeah.
It's a drainage, because it was always a drainage issue at Godstone Road. Remember that? Yeah, and look, it would be remiss. I like to be positive, but it would be remiss of me to point out, not to point out Shoreham's league leading streak, 18 games, defeats in a row. Yeah, I point it out because it's noteworthy, not because it's funny. But if we move over to the form guide, just the point I was going to make on Valentinians, they're now 4 unbeaten. Now, previously, I think they'd lost 10 in a row, but they went on, before this Lansing game, they'd lost 8 in a row, conceding over 4 a game. And in the last 6, they've conceded 6. They've drawn with YM and New Haven, who were both in the playoff zone. They got a point at the Polegrove, which is not an easy place to go. So it's not just the fact that they beat Shoreham, it's the fact that they've been picking up points against good teams as well. And they seem to have really shored up at the back, which seems to be behind their recent upturn in form and why they are now outside of the relegation zone. Lansing too. I mean, Lansing, they started the season with 1 point from their first 9 games. And I was convinced at that point that they were doomed. But to be fair, they've really, really turned it around. And 1 defeat in 5. They'd gone 4 unbeaten as well. Won 4-2 away at Midhurst, who were in that battle with them. So that's a massive result. You know, draws at home to Seaford and Roffey, both of whom are, you know, very good sides. And that's not an easy thing to do. And they also beat Valentinians, so they're winning the games against teams around them. So
what you need to do.
Hey?
What you need to do.
It is what you need to do, yeah. Here's the goal chart. I wasn't really going to call out anything here, to be honest. I just forgot to skip it. But while we're here, Hayward Heath just far away, what you'd expect up here. Guernsey are having a mad one. Averaging 3 a game, conceding 2. So, I mean, whatever you're charging on the island, I mean, I can't remember what Mike said the pricing's like, but given you the only team there and you're evidently good value, get yourself down there.
It's interesting as well, Chris, when you look at the playoff chasing clubs, as we were a minute ago as well, your Peacehavens, your Eastbourne and Pagham. Obviously, Eastbourne are still off of the marker, really, if you're only looking at sort of the top 7 or 8 there. The cluster of those 3 together, and then the cluster of chasers you've got in New Haven, Forest Row, who are a little bit off the pace, Roffey and Bexhill, that they're all similarly clustered in terms of what they're scoring and what they're conceding.
They are. Eastbourne United are very weird, though. And I don't say that as a town fan. I say that as a stat man. They're very weird. I mean, I think also, like, in terms of just how good Hayward Heath are, I think the fact that Stenning are closer to YM, and also how well YM are doing, by the way, but the fact that these two are here close to each other and Hayward Heath are all the way over here, that's interesting as well. But you're right with Eastbourne United, they're the bit outlier there. And in fact, I'll just come to them now because it makes perfect sense to. They got off to an horrible start, I think it's fair to say. But again, if you just arbitrarily draw the line in late October, since then, they are the most improved side. They were averaging a point a game, and now they're averaging nearly 2.4 points a game, which is I mean, they're fourth in the table. Excuse me, having only played 8, which is pretty good going.
Yeah.
Now, what I will just say with Eastbourne United is 7 of their last 9 have actually been at the Oval. They've had 6 home games, plus the game against Little Common was moved there.
Yeah.
So they are very good at home. Like, their home record is, well, it's 2 points a game at home. They got off to a pretty ropey start, weirdly losing at home to Vandinians as well. Which, again, Vandinians don't record many away wins. I'm sure they won't mind me saying. So that was a great result for them. But since then, to be fair, they have been bossing it. 1 defeat at YM. The only 2 games that have come away from the Oval, actually, they've not won. A 1-0 defeat at YM. YM will beat a lot of good teams this season. So there's no shame there. And then a draw away at Seaford, which is a tough place to go as well, particularly with that sloping pitch. So, yeah, it's heavily contingent on their home form at the moment. Let's see how they get on. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and I wouldn't put it past them because they have got goals in them. James Hull does very well at this level, and he's a very canny operator. You got Tiano Wilson as well, a young lad who's going to go places. I think he against Little Common, he was absolutely electric. So, but also with Eastbourne, 42 they've scored 42. Now they put 7 past Shoreham and 9 past Lancing. That's 16 goals. I think that is somewhat inflating their numbers a little bit. This is why I like using medians rather than means, because means, it doesn't take much. A couple of outliers, and all of a sudden your average gets inflated. So
I think as well, Chris, if you take out the 5-3 with Newhaven and the 4-2 with Forest Row as well, there isn't a lot of goals in their games in terms of 1-0, 3-2s, 3-0s, 1-0s. They don't concede a lot, and they don't tend to overscore, bar those 2 thumpings they handed out.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember when James Hull came in, but he's definitely started the season at Hastings, and he definitely scored away at Sheppey for them. So
I want to say somewhere around the Shoreham game, I think, around that period.
I think it probably was. Definitely, because Dan Hull joined around then as well, because he also started at Hastings, but he's a centre-half. He's a good centre-half. But, yeah, so it'll be interesting. If they can keep this up, and if this is now their new level, then no reason they can't, steal a march on it. But, yeah, I do wonder whether this is just a bit of a blip. But, look, they're scoring, even those 4 games apart, 3 against Peacehaven's not a bad score.
No.
Wick at home, 3. Forest Row. Okay. And then it's Crawley down next. Let's see how they get on against Guernsey and Bexhill and Pagham. That'll probably be a bit more of an acid test for them in the January. Now, where were we? Yes. My lovely opposition type chart. So, what have we got here then? Well, the top 2, I think it's fair enough to separate them out. I think given how far Stenning are clear of... they're nearer to Haywards Heath than they are to anyone else. So, feels fair enough to draw it there. The next 5, then you've got a bit of a step down from Pagham down to Forest Row, so it feels fair enough. My chair keeps deflating. I need to lose weight, obviously. So what's it saying in terms of the playoffs? If you look at against games of the other playoff chasers, even this I find interesting, right? So YM have got the best record by mile, 2.25 points per game, won 3 of the 4. The next one, Pagham, though, have won 1 of 5. But when I looked at that, because I thought that's a bit weird, so I went and looked at that. 3 of the YM games have actually been at Goringsmead. So they've got the majority of their games away against the playoff chasers are away from home.
Right.
For Pagham, they've only played 1 of them at home. So I think even just...
Peacehaven, I think. Is that right? They're on the played at home?
Yes. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. It was 0-0.
Drew 2-2. Drew 2-2, I think. Yeah.
Remember they drew, yeah. So, but yeah. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic about not just the games, but where they're played as well. In terms of the relegation battle, Lancing have got the best record in terms of points per game. They've also played 6, but they've done very well in those 6. They won 4 of them.
Good,
only losing the one. But Lingfield have only played 3. Now they've not done as well. They've won one, drawn one, lost one. But they've got 7 games left against the bottom 6.
Wow, that could be massive, couldn't it? Come the end, especially if they get back to Lingfield as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we said they've got games in hand, so that's even that, at the end of the season, the fixtures are going to be quite important, particularly down there when points are at more of a premium than they are elsewhere in the table. I mean, I've done that and I've done that. So I looked at the fixtures and nothing took my fancy. And then here we go, Australia. Not really.
I like that one.
Yeah, well, it helps when they're all on the mainland.
Yeah.
So, final division. Oh, I've actually kept a time. Bloody hell. Godalming, 9 points clear at the top now. They've played more games than everybody else. And even here, actually, what you said about the Isthmian South East in terms of games played, even here where we normally get some pretty wild discrepancies, everyone's played at least 17, which is good. So,
it's a lovely little race, though, this, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, it's going to be mint, yeah. I mean, Godalming, like I said, whenever these teams lose, I just think, Godalming are the main winners. I mean, they've only lost 1 game this season. Well, they only lost 3 last season. Like, they're just on... I think, what was their tweet? They put the tweet out saying basically they got 89 points over 38 games. If they'd done that 6 months, if they just moved it 6 months, they'd have won the league instead of Seaford. So, the job they're doing there is fantastic. They don't score many goals, but God, they've got the best. They've got the best defense in the league. So fair enough. And then the next 4 separated by a point. Arundel have a game in hand. You can pretty much tattoo that onto somebody, and it'll be true. But yeah, and then even the next tranche. I mean, Walcountians and Reigate and Selsey are not far off, and Selsey have got games in hand. And are flying.
And in blistering form as well, aren't they, Selsey?
They are indeed, yeah. Was it if Infinity and Arundel win their games in hand, the top 5 would be separated by just 3 points? Wow. Right. That might be a hangover from the last one, to be honest. So apologies.
We'll let it slide 2 days into the new year.
Well, quite, yeah. And it's worth saying as well, Saltdean, I know that's saying that the arrow went down just because Dorking B won the game, but they've been in much better form, actually, which I will come to. But shout out to all Countians as well, being sick. I mean, this is their first season at the level, and they're doing very, very well. So good on them. Now, form, as you say, Selsey, top the tree. And the one thing with this form table, and with all form tables, I guess, it's the last 6 games at the top level when you can guarantee when they were played. Fine. Here, that's one slight weakness in this analysis is I don't know when these games were played, but I think in terms of Selsey's case, I know they went a month without playing, so this could be going back into October. But you can only beat who's in front of you when they're in front of you, and that they are doing. Godalming, unbeaten, shocker. Won 4 of the last 5, doing very, very well. Saltdean, 5th, which considering their position in the table overall is great. Is a good position for them. Really improving under Los Edwards. 2 massive wins there against the bottom 2, helping their goals for column. If I just move on to I forgot to skip this. I was going to skip this as well, but it's interesting. I just wanted to say, Godalming, again, clearly the best defence, but it's very similar here, which I think is what makes it so fun. Just a lot between sort of 2. Well, about 1.2 and 2.4. There's no one really solid. So that, it's always going to be not a bit random, but there's each game's going to be pretty competitive.
I think I was going to say that with the form table as well. If you look at that middle tranche of about 4 or 5 clubs in there, they're just so tight together, aren't they? Between about 11 and 7 points at the moment in the form guide. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, even Infinity are only on 12, and they've lost their last 2 as well, which is unusual because again they've been doing very well. It's this is one where if bookies did take a bet, they'd make a mint I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think as well that form guide as well. That you transfer that to your goal sheet you've got as well there, and that shows with that middle bit of that table we were just talking about, with all the clubs sitting right in the middle.
Yeah.
Of that tranche as well. Apart from you got the 5, and we know Billingshurst have scored goals for fun, all season. As it's gone well, and maybe slightly surprising that Worthing United, that they're very good defensively again as well. That they're possibly not scoring more per game, but they're still winning.
Well, yeah, although of late their form has kind of dipped because they were top. I'm sure they went top at one point. It might have been around the time they played. Was it around the non-league date? Didn't they have Godalming? And I think they went into that.
They would have gone top, wouldn't they? I think if they won.
Yeah. But,
right.
But also, what's different from this league and the rest is the other teams. Like you've got someone in this top bag here that's miles away clear, like Worthing or Hayward Heath or Folkestone.
Yeah.
But here you don't have that at all. And that's what makes it fun. So there's 6 games tomorrow, but the one I've got my eye on in particular, I mean, Worthing United Jarvis Brook will be good, but the one that entertains or tickles my fancy is this one, Billingshurst Selsey. Which, yeah,
it's being played at Stenning.
For goodness sake. The thing is, right, the SCFL on the full-time website tells you the ground. So if that's up to date, that's where I get my data. I just copy and paste it.
Yeah, that's why whenever I see one on Twitter, I always screenshot it because I know I've got to change it on the SNLF website. So yeah, that was one I'd kept.
But yeah, because I know they've been playing all over. I mean, they've had a few games at Worthing as well, haven't they? Like the East Preston game. Billingshurst, mad attack, average 3 point, average, nearly 3 goals a game. But Selsey got off to a really horrible start and have really turned it around. Only Arundel have beat them in their last 8, I think, or something daft. In fact, have I got Selsey up here? I have. Here you go. Yeah. So this is again that watermark here of the draw at Godalming, which is a bit harsh me drawing it there because that's a good result in and of itself. And to be honest, losing 1-0 at Billingshurst isn't awful.
No, especially they were in scoring goals that time of the season as well.
Yeah, but since then, to be fair, they've played 9, they've won 8. You can't say fairer than that. And they've
keeping clean sheets as well.
Well, quite, yeah, and they've also they've beaten some really decent sides. I mean, Walkoutings and Reigate Priory aren't bad, and then Infinity as well. That's pretty good going. So they're not just beating duffers; they're beating some pretty good sides. Best home, second best home defense in the league. I presume the first will be Godalming. So no, they're going. That's going to be a really good game tomorrow, and it's at Stenning, not Jubilee Fields, where I said.
Correct.
Just a couple more teams I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to. Saltdean's one of them. As I said, got off to a slow start, very slow start, in fact. Only winning at Copthorne up until they played Loxwood. But since then, they have been much better. They've won 4 of 9, got a nice positive goal difference there, albeit heavily conditioned by the games against at home to Copthorne and Uckfield. And they're now back home at Hill Park as well, and that looks like an absolutely stunning venue. So that'll be fun. The fixtures are about to turn. They've got 4 away games on the spin, including games at Godalming and Infinity. So that's not going to be fun. But the way they're playing at the moment, who's to say they'll lose them? They're going quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good tests as well, though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then it's Arundel actually at Hill Park on Valentine's Day. That'll be quite fun. And then that's it. I just wanted to shout out
lost there.
No, but I just wanted to shout out Loxwood as well. I forgot to put the graphic up, but they started with 2 points from 9, lost 5 on the spin, conceded 20, I think, in those 5 games they lost. But now they've got 7 points from 9. In fact, if I look in the form guide again. Loxwood, yeah. So they've won. They've kept 2 clean sheets. Beat East Preston away at the Lashmar, which isn't easy. Drew with Billingshurst 0-0. Not many teams keep Billingshurst to 0.
No, good crowd that day as well. 150.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, you'll do well to find a more scenic place to watch football as well than Loxwood, and they're a brilliant club. So good luck to them. But it's nice to see them recover from a couple of really tricky results. With a lot of kids as well. I think a lot of their first team are out, aren't they? And they said,
I think they've started to get a few players back now, which I think is why things are just starting to turn a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, good results. So yeah, that just merited a shout out, I think. But yeah, that, as they say, is your lot.
Superb. There we go.
And it was an hour as well, so I managed to keep it to time.
Yeah, we've done that quite well. So, right, let me have a quick look at the comments because I haven't taken any notice of them.
Oh God, there's loads.
Yeah, thank you very much for my award, Jeff. If you might have seen it, I know I've got a ton of messages to answer on Twitter as well. The award I got nominated for best editorial at the non-league Bible Awards I won, which got announced today. So I get a nice little certificate for that, which is good. AFC Athletic are up there and trying to win their matches. Yeah, they certainly haven't suffered from the loss of Louis Theopanis. No. Yeah, very good away win for Jersey. Well, Gaz has relegated East Grinstead, but that's not a stat at the moment. And St. Paul have actually done well since Reece Prestige has gone in and really shot them up the table. So there we go. Right. Thank you very much for watching on a Friday evening as well. I know everyone's probably confused as to actually what day of the week it actually is. So you probably think you're watching this on a Wednesday or maybe even a Tuesday or a Monday, but it's Friday and it's football actually tomorrow. So enjoy your games if you're heading anywhere this weekend. And obviously the main show will be back as normal next Wednesday. And Chris will be back with another Statman show in about 4 weeks' time.
Indeed.
So until then, we'll see you later.
See you later.